same code. Now maybe you're thinking, I spent all that time learning HTML and CSS. Isn't that really what I want to return? Not just strings? You're absolutely right. So the way Flask is set up, we need to have a folder at the same level as our server file, or whatever name you've given it, but where we're actually running our Flask app. In that same level, we need a directory or folder called templates. And it has to be exactly this. It has to be called templates with an S. And inside of that folder is where we're going to save our HTML. Now, if you're concerned about CSS, hold off just a little bit, and we'll get to that soon. For now, just know that in their templates folder, it will only be HTML files. So let's just put a quick little HTML just to test this. And now, instead of just returning hello, we're going to return a function called render template. And what that means is that Flask will look in the templates folder, and then the first argument we need to give this function is the name of the HTML file that we want to render. So let's try this. I think it's still running, so let's go back to localhost 5000. And since I put this code under my root route, let's go back to the root route. Woohoo! An error. So this is a great error to recognize. When you see that something is not defined, usually that means that we're using a function that hasn't been defined, or a variable that hasn't been defined yet. So in our code, we can see that we are using this render template, but how does it know what render template is? If we look back at the platform, it reminds us that we actually need to import that from Flask. So Flask has defined the render template function, and we want to use it to be able to render this HTML. So now that we've imported it, let's refresh the page again. And there we go, our HTML is working. And just to make sure, we can add a little p tag down here to make sure. We refresh, and there it is. Our HTML is working. And that's how we render templates.